I met Brechin Morgan in Panama Canal. We took an immediate liking to each other. We were both sailing around the world. And so we've kept in touch, and we painted our way around the world, did lots of drawings, and Breck was instrumental in getting me to get back to work and do the things that I really should be doing. And we had a great time, great trip, and Breck decided that he wanted to be a solo navigator, so he did sail alone around the world. He wanted to be the youngest person to do that. He's actually 18 years old. He's just lived. He lives very hard. So that can be a bit of a problem. So at any rate, and then there's Liv Karlovic, who's the gallery manager. She's our resident Viking. Don't mess with her. She's pretty tough. And so I think without further ado, this painting was, or this photograph was chosen. And where's the photographer? There, right here.
Roger.
Right here. And so that painting was chosen for us to paint. It wasn't our choice, and which is fine. I mean, it's a lovely painting. I'm tired of the snow. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm tired of the snow, so I might change it a little bit. But Lisa will be doing watercolor, Breck will be doing acrylics, and I'll be doing oil. Oil is probably the easiest of all the mediums, I think. Watercolor probably being the most difficult, so Breck kind of falls in there between the two.
So that means I win automatically?
No.
We've been
No,
discussing
fair.
the rules,
It's like a golf handicap kind of thing.
We change the rules as we go. That's kind of the deal.
So I get my light wash on there, and I have to be thinking about what's coming through the paint, what's coming through underneath the clouds. And Howard, you approach it in the opposite way, that you're starting with your darks and basically doing a value sketch with your paint, right?
That's right. That's right. The difference is that this value sketch will disappear. I mean, there's unlike Lisa, who has, not only does she have her drawing there, I mean, I've got mine obviously that I can use, but this will start disappearing as the more and more paint I put on it. So it's part of the history of the painting, and it really does stay there. I've got to move back and look at it for a second, just to see if it has any redeeming values at all. Lisa's going to put a boat in hers, and that'll help bring the eye back down to that horizon. But I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that. And I know the light's coming from this side, but I want everything to go this way, so it comes back in this direction.
And while my paint is still wet, I come in and I do my clouds. And this is, with watercolor, this is the challenge, especially with plein air, is that it starts drying off really quickly, and you have to work really quickly to get that next layer of paint on a little bit thicker than your previous layer, because it's going onto a wet surface or a damp surface.
But the beauty of it is that you've got an awful lot of it done right away.
Right.
So you've got a lot of your painting done, and especially if you have a large amount of sky, and both of us like a lot of sky. You know, Corot said you start your painting as if you're painting from 60 feet away, so you keep that foreground at a distance, and that's just a way of establishing that certain amount of depth that you have in your painting. So the sky becomes important to us because a little less foreground is, to me, is more interesting. Not always.
And the sky really sets the tone for your painting. You know, it sets the kind of the emotional tone, the feel of your painting. And so the sky is just really critical.
That's your source of light. Yeah, that's right.
It's your light source. And
Right.
with watercolor, you can see I'm really letting it kind of happen. I try not to over control it too much.
No, that's all wrong. That's all wrong.
Thanks, Howard.
What a great draw, what a great drawing he's got going there. Look how and we just talked about not putting a lot of foreground in, but look how much Breck has put in and how interesting that makes it in his painting. That gives you a landing place, right?
There's a certain level of connection, at least in the beginning, with some of the ideas that, that.
Well, it's basics, you start with basics, you kind of work. That's a lovely sky, Lisa. It's just lovely. So you got established the warmth in the sky right away and the direction of the light's coming.
Right.
Yeah, very nice.
And with watercolor skies, it's really about learning how to control how much pigment you have in the brush. Let it do its thing, and
Well, it's still very wet.
it's still very wet. So Howard, where are you in your process now?
Well-
So you've got your darks.
So I've established a lot of the darks just with the block in, and so now I'm trying to work towards getting a sky in that's going to be the source of light, and it's going to set the rest of the tone for the painting.
The lighthouse itself stands stark white, in a darker background. So,
Right.
So I'm going to see if I can replicate some of that, thing around it for now, and let the imagination kind of
Right.
work.
And I find there's a certain looseness in doing this so that I don't find myself getting all caught up in too much detail too soon. That's the killer.
You have
If
plenty of time to mess your painting up later.
Right, that's right.
Which is our phrase we say to our students every time. You go in and you do too much and you can kill it. So we work a lot with students on just keeping it fresh, and not overworking it.
So do all of you teach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I have on occasion, but not normally, no.
Lisa, you teach?
Yeah, we teach, Howard and I co-teach oil and watercolor painting at Lime Art, Mystic Museum of Art, and we also teach our own workshops, plein air workshops.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Sure, we do. I go.
We do workshops,
I do
yeah.
workshop. I did a workshop with Don Demers and I think Lisa and I. We did one with
Bob Norica.
Bob Norica.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody knows Bob, he's amazing. You look at his painting, and he's painting along. We paint plein air with him, and he's painting along like crazy. And you think, boy, he really blew it this time. Oh man, what a mess!
Yeah.
And then at the very end, right? At the very end of the painting, boom, 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 3 marks, and it's like the whole thing comes to life. Pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
he's amazing.
Pretty amazing. And a wonderful guy. Gosh, what a wonderful fellow he is. And confidence, really. There's a certain confidence that's important.
That's true, you're right, it's confidence.
And whatever you do, we just encourage people to, foster their creativity, whatever form that takes.
Right.
For students is don't be afraid, don't feel like you messed up your painting, just keep doing it, just keep trying. Every painting that we do, for the most part, I look at and I think, oh, this could have been better, I could have changed this. I'm learning the whole time that I'm working on these,
And it's a lifelong process.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a painter, you're going to be a student your whole life.
Yeah, okay, right.
I really only need 2 brushes to do a painting, and I could even do the whole painting with this brush. You want to use the largest brush you can so that you don't get over fiddly with your paintings.
If you become too illustrative too soon, then you find something you think, oh, I love what I've done here. This is so beautiful. And then you're trying to save that while you're painting, and you're not painting anymore. You're just trying to save your drawing.
How perfect the painting is, what happens, but you want your painting to have spirit.
Have that to be different from everybody else.
Oh, yeah, well, there
that's
was
what
an
I thought.
interaction with the folks that marketed him.
Right.
And him. He was like the creative guy and everything.
Right.
But he's really like a Hallmark card kind of guy. I mean, he was really sweet.
Oh, yes.
Genuinely.
He was
as
he
a
was
personality.
a really nice fella.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
And believed that everybody had talent. All you had to do was pick up a brush. You could make happy trees.
Hey,
You know?
that's right. Make them all the same. And so we're painting along, and he says at one point, he rubs his whole painting. He says, "Can you oil painters do this?" And his painting was all dry, and I'm looking at him, and so behind his back I said, "Can you acrylic painters do this?" And that worked pretty well. He didn't.
Light on the right and put down his lighter paint on top of that to get that sense of light hitting
Oh, yeah.
from over there. And that's a great color for the water too. That steely,
It's a little bit. It's a
Kind of.
little bit darker
yeah.
than the photograph. So the value's a little different, but it kind of plays well with that sky.
Exactly. Yeah, we're
Positional element to it.
This is the question that we ask our students is when is your painting done? And I think the hardest thing that most artists struggle with is at what point do you step back? So that's why we often will step back. I mean, sometimes we'll step back for a week. You know, sometimes you step back, you come back to a painting, you see it differently. But you also have to be careful not to lose the freshness you had when you
That's
did
right.
it.
That's right.
You know,
People,
you can,
people will often ask me, when do I sign my painting? And I say about 10 minutes after I screwed it up. You really want to stop as soon as you can.
and I punched those up to my eye and more true to what I mean, I know this lighthouse really well. I lived in New London for 15 years, so, and this was the beach
You
I
think
went
she
to,
would have done a better painting of it then?
that now the trash talking is starting.
Yeah, now it's starting.
And I actually chose to kind of focus in on the original house that was there, and I kind of removed the other house.
The average time that someone stands in front of a painting is 7 seconds.
In a museum.
Yeah, in a
Yep.
museum.
Yep.
And that's, well, part of that is I'm sure they want to go and see the thing they came to the museum to see. But they were timing people at the, I think it was MoMA, they did that study. Pretty amazing, just 7 seconds. You're standing in front of Vermeer for 7 seconds, I can't believe it.
Now I'm working on the figure right now who is tiny, but the human eye wants to go to a figure, so your eye is going to go right to that. It's just, we're programmed for that. We're really interested in, you know, if you look at a horizon and there's a person there, your eye is going to go right to that person. And so when you put figures in your paintings, they really have to be in correct scale or it'll ruin the whole painting.
Well, it is wintertime. I didn't put the snow in. Put a bit. It does. It's good. It's got a certain clarity to it because the plankton is all dead from the cold. Right? So you don't have that kind of a green that Atlantic green, I think they call it.
I thought the teal blue was more like a winter color.
Yeah. No, I would say
That's why
so.
I'm thinking it looks like winter.
I would say so. You want to finish this for me?
I noticed everybody left the fence up.
There what?
Everyone left the fence
The
out.
fence, yeah.
I don't have that luxury.
Well, for some reason, it works fairly well in your photograph, but often in a painting, if you have a fence without an opening in the fence, then you're blocking the viewer from getting into the rest of the painting.
Yeah.
And it was done by lots of really, really well-known artists,
White brick, yes.
painted brick.
And it's,
and probably done at an era when they were making a lot of the different style lighthouses, so it's unique in its shape. I love what you've done there with your warms and cools, and the shadows are very subtle next to the lighthouse, behind the trees. The water is delicious.
Thanks.
Yeah, very nice. It's almost like you can see through it. There's a nice sense of it, of being able to see through it.
Yeah, I want to keep working on, but I'm ready for my vertical.
Let it dry
Nice
a little
brick.
bit. So I
great
think,
sense of light on there.
Thanks.
And the light hitting
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
yeah,
We're putting a little bit of color here that doesn't
Yeah.
happen as much.
yeah,
Really nice.
very nice,
Thank you.
very nice.